I am excited for this video because we've learned some of the basics and now we're ready to move on. So in the last couple videos, we've talked about what is a sound system, what is EQ, what is dynamics, where do we place the speakers in the room. And in that last speaker placement video, I talked a little bit about something that I call the 10-foot rule. That's just something I made up. It doesn't necessarily have to be 10 feet, but let's go ahead and do an example to understand it a little bit better. Hey, how's it going? Oh, not bad. Not bad. How you doing? How you doing? Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Kind of chilly out there, eh? You're telling me it's freezing out there. But I heard next week the sun's supposed to come out, so that'll be nice. I sure hope so, because I am ready to get outside. This whole indoor thing all the time, it is no fun. Well, it was definitely good running into you. Yeah, you too. Good running into you. I'll see you later. So obviously that was just a normal conversation that we have every single day, all day long. But that's what our brains like. They like that I'm talking, then you're talking. Then I'm talking, then you're talking. And when you're talking, I'm picking it up. And when I'm talking, you're picking it up. And we do this without thinking all day long. We've been doing this our whole lives. That's how we were created. We were created to have conversations where we're listening to somebody's voice. And that voice is kind of like a point source speaker. So how do we translate this into a service? Well, let's go check that out. Okay, so I'm up here on the platform and I'm talking, all right? And if you watched the last video where we talked about speaker placement, you got a pretty good idea of the size of this room. This room holds about, if you squished them in here, about 100 people. You could easily have a conversation in this room without a sound system. If you were in the back of the room and I was up here on the stage and I was talking, you would be able to hear me. I may have to talk kind of loud, but you'd be able to hear everything I'm saying. And vice versa. If you were in the back of the room talking to me, I'd be able to hear what you have to say. So, this room, even though it holds 60, 70, 80 people comfortably, sure, we could probably get away with nothing. But then you're adding a keyboard and a guitar. Somebody's singing. Maybe you got some drums. You got a bass guitar, maybe electric guitar. Now we're adding some stuff and we need to have something in place. And so again, referencing back to the other video, the last video about speaker placement, we have speakers in place that take that sound and direct it toward the seats. Now this sounds so basic, but here's the secret. Hang on. Here's the secret. We're just trying to recreate that 10-foot rule. In any space that we're doing, we're just trying to recreate that 10-foot rule where we're talking back and forth. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. Imagine if you've got a band and you're trying to fill a space, it needs to be projected from what you're hearing. And it needs to come out naturally. An acoustic guitar needs to sound like an acoustic guitar. A kick drum needs to sound like a kick drum. A piano needs to sound like a piano. We're just taking this stuff and we're trying to push it out. Let me explain. Let me explain it like this. Okay, one of my favorite worship experiences ever was probably 13, 14, 15 years ago on, I guess you could kind of call it like a local mission trip. It wasn't far off to another part of the world, but it was in a rough part of the country. I mean, it was definitely a rough poverty kind of situation. And we did 24 hours of worship nonstop for 24 hours. Now if you're not familiar with that, we weren't like playing music for 24 hours. There was people that would take 2-hour sets. So it wasn't like, we did play a lot, but it wasn't like just full on for 24 hours. We stuck around for that following Sunday, which was the next day. And the husband and wife that were leading, we're talking out-of-tune guitars, rough sound system, nothing fancy. But man, talk about the heart of these people and the atmosphere. It was one of the most incredible experiences ever because it was so raw and it was so natural and it was so genuine that it was just incredible. And I'm not saying we're trying to recreate that every single Sunday, But the more authentic, the more real we can make things, especially in small spaces. This really applies to small spaces. The more real and authentic we can make things, the more powerful they have the ability to be. And by getting the sound to not only sound right, but to be something that our brains like. That's the key right there, is our brains like natural things. That's why the conversation thing is such a powerful thing, because there is no sound system, there is no technology that's in the way. It's literally you and I having a conversation. If we can get to that, not saying, I'm not trying to put anybody in a box here, but if we think more along the lines of this is what our brains are naturally wanting to do, then trying to recreate that using amplification through a sound system, if we put our brains first, we can really create authentic spaces. All right, guys, I know that video was a lot to take in and a little maybe on the abstract sort of side, but I really am passionate about creating authentic spaces, especially in small areas. And so if you liked this video, like it, subscribe to it, comment. That would be really, 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 really awesome. And I'll see you in the next video.